Hello, everybody, and welcome to Deep Left Field, the Toronto Stars baseball podcast. I'm Mike Wilner. It is episode 344, and 1 week into the 2026 Major League Baseball season, the Blue Jays are in Chicago, having gotten off to a 4-2 start. They had been expecting to play in the Chicago White Sox home opener on Thursday afternoon, but that game was rained out, so they will have a day off and open the White Sox home schedule on Friday afternoon with Dylan Cease on the mound. You will hear from, in this episode, Max Scherzer, who had a tremendous first start to the season and, in fact, pitched the only game that the Blue Jays won against the Colorado Rockies. You'll also hear from Rule 5er Spencer Miles, who definitely did not get eased into things. Also, Pickering's own Denzel Clarke, who is a center fielder for the Athletics, who opened the season here in Toronto. Great show for you, and now that the season has started and things count, we can go back to looking at the week that was. But first, I want to wish everyone who is celebrating a happy Passover, Chag Sameach, and hopefully it is a wonderful holiday surrounded by family and loved ones. And also, of course, for those of you who are celebrating, only the best on Easter weekend. Absolutely. Hope everyone is having a great time, whether you're celebrating a holiday or not this weekend. The Blue Jays probably not having such a great time right now. First of all, it is miserable in Chicago, and the reason that they rained out Thursday's game on Wednesday afternoon was because of a brutal weather forecast, and it's really not supposed to be good at any point on the weekend in Chicago. They moved the opener to Friday, but they might not get that game in on Friday either. It's also supposed to rain Saturday, maybe Sunday too. But I have found in my experience that whenever you're expecting a series to have a couple of games that are rained out or really, really affected by the weather, it usually doesn't wind up happening. But the Blue Jays could certainly use one, because a month ago we thought they had too much starting pitching, and now their starting rotation is in dire straits. They're missing one. And in fact, if you look at the overall, they're missing half of their available starting pitchers. Jose Barrios, Shane Bieber, Trey Savage, all starting the season on the injured list. And in game 4 of the season, Cody Ponce goes down with what you'll hear Max Scherzer say later in this program is a season-ending injury. The word from the Blue Jays on Cody Ponce's right knee is that there is a sprain of the right ACL. It should be noted that by definition, a sprain is a tear. The Blue Jays aren't telling us whether it's a partial tear or whether it's a complete tear. All they've said is that next week, on Monday, which is April 6th, Ponce is going to go to California and see Dr. Neil Elatrosh, who is one of the top orthopedic surgeons out there. The Blue Jays have said that in-person meeting will determine whether Ponce needs knee surgery or not. But Wednesday morning in the Blue Jays clubhouse before the series finale against the Colorado Rockies, Cody Ponce was in the clubhouse while the media was in the room and openly talking about the fact that he needs surgery. He seemed in great spirits. He was laughing. He had a smile on his face. I'm sure his heart is broken, and so are his teammates, and you'll hear that from Max Scherzer as well. But let's say he's going to California with a 99.5% chance of needing surgery on his right knee. surgery that will likely end his season. Marcus Stroman, you'll remember, in 2015 suffered a torn ACL in his knee during spring training. He was able to be back in September. The injury happened in February, so he missed about 7 months. And if Cody Ponce misses 7 months, that has him back in the big leagues at the end of October. So we'll see, but things do not look good for Cody Ponce, which is really too bad. First of all, for a lot of reasons. I mean, this is a guy who rewrote the record book in Korea last year. He set league records in wins, in ERA, in strikeouts, in the KBO. And he turned that into a 3-year deal to come back to North America. He hadn't pitched in the major leagues since 2021. The Blue Jays gave him $30 million. They gave him a spot in the starting rotation. And in his first start, that opener against the Colorado Rockies, a game that wound up being an embarrassing loss for the Blue Jays, Ponce was terrific. He retired 6 of the first 7 batters he faced, and it was 0-0 going into the third inning. And that's when things started to fall apart for him on the mound before they did off the mound. He walked the leadoff man, then struck out Edward Julian, but threw a wild pitch in striking him out. So that runner, Kyle Karros, Eric Karros' kid, went to second base. And then with Jake McCarthy at the plate, Ponce caught a spike in the mound in his delivery and tumbled to the ground, laughing the whole way, even let go of the ball just to try to avoid the balk, but it was too late. So he walked a guy, wild pitched him to second, and balked him to third. And then McCarthy hit a slow roller in between the pitcher's mound and the first baseline. Ponce went over to try to get it, missed on his first attempt, knocked himself off balance, and while reaching back to grab for the ball on the bounce, planted his leg wrong and sprained his ACL. I'm not going to say tore, because if you hear tore, it might sound like it's completely gone. We don't know the extent of the tear, but again, a sprain is a tear, and he was writhing in pain on the dirt between first and second base. He had to be carted off the field. It's just terrible. Your heart goes out to the guy. Not even 3 innings into one start back after 5 years in the Far East, and this happens. And you know what? Good for Cody Ponce for being in reasonably good spirits. I don't know if it's because he thinks, well, what's done is done. There's nothing I can do about it now except rehab, but it's going to be a lost season for Cody Ponce. And now the Jays have to figure out how to replace him. Shane Bieber's not coming back anytime soon. Trey Savage is only up to 45 pitches, trying to come back from a shoulder impingement that the Blue Jays lied to us about during spring training. And Jose Barrios is the wild card here, because Jose Barrios has a stress fracture in his right elbow, and it doesn't hurt. It's not swollen. He can't feel that there's anything wrong with his elbow. So he threw aside on Tuesday. He's going to throw a live batting practice on the weekend. He is continuing to throw, and he was up to 63 pitches during spring training before they shut him down. Jose Barrios could be back in the rotation relatively soon, and not for nothing, Jose Barrios' elbow could explode on the mound. You never know. Stress fractures heal, but they heal with rest. And I don't know what happens if you try to pitch through it. It feels as though the Blue Jays won't let Barrios do anything incredibly dangerous, especially since they owe him about $50 million after this year, assuming he doesn't opt out of his contract, and there's no chance he's going to opt out of his contract. He wants to pitch. He feels fine, but his elbow is fractured. If I had to guess, I would say he's the first one back, but probably not for at least a couple of weeks. So the Blue Jays have to patch over the hole in the rotation until he comes back. It's too early to start using the off days to skip the 5th spot. Dylan Cease threw 90 pitches in his start in the second game of the season. No other Blue Jay starter has thrown 90 pitches. This is not the time when you push them. Lazaro Estrada is up to take Ponce's spot on the roster, but to take the start Sunday, maybe not. We'll see what the weather's like in Chicago, but right now, the Blue Jays have their next series lined up. The Los Angeles Dodgers in the rematch of the World Series at Rogers Center Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to have Max Scherzer starting in the opener, Kevin Gausman in Game 2, and Dylan Cease in Game 3. They're going at the Dodgers with their best. In Chicago, Cease is going to pitch Friday now because Thursday's game has been rained out. That means that he would be on regular rest, pitching the finale of the series against the Dodgers. He has the extra off day because of the Thursday rainout. Eric Lauer is scheduled to pitch Saturday. We don't know who's going to pitch Sunday, or whether it's Lazaro Estrada, whether it's some sort of a bullpen game, whether they call somebody else up to make a start. Chad Dallas is a possibility, maybe CJ Van Eck. We don't know. We'll see what the Blue Jays do. I've talked about this more than I thought I would with the look back at the week that was not happening, but that's the biggest story, that Cody Ponce is out probably for the season. It's not dire in that the Blue Jays still have 7 starting pitchers, but only 4 of them are healthy, so it's going to be a problem, maybe throughout the course of the month of April. Before we get to Max Scherzer, a quick look back at the week that was, and again, a 4-2 week for the Blue Jays, which would be fine if they hadn't been 3-0 to start with the Colorado Rockies coming to town. But they won the first 2 games of the season, both in walk-off fashion. It's the first time that the Jays have ever walked off each of the first 2 games of the year. So many Game 7 flashbacks in the opener against the Athletics. Kevin Gausman was brilliant. He gave up 1 hit over 6 innings with no walks and struck out 11 to establish a Blue Jays record for opening day. The old record was 9, so he blew the old record away. But the Jays could only score twice. Andres Jimenez with a triple with 2 on in the bottom of the 5th, but a tainted one because Denzel Clarke, who you'll hear from later in the program, allowed himself to be called off by left fielder Tyler Soderstrom, and then Soderstrom just didn't catch the ball. But the Jays could not add on, and that may be a through line for the Blue Jays this season. And they still led only 2-1 when they gave the ball to Jeff Hoffman to close it out in the 9th. And just like the last game that he pitched, he gave up a game-tying home run in the 9th inning to the second batter he faced. This time it was Shea Langoliers, a little bit more plausible than Miguel Rojas. But the game was tied. Hoffman with a blown save in his first appearance of the year. The Jays got him off the hook, though, in the bottom of the 9th with 2 out and nobody on. Kazuma Okamoto singled his second major league hit. He was 2 for 3 in the game. Ernie Clement with a little chop double over third to get him in third. And Andres Jimenez with an RBI single to walk it off. Jays win 3-2. Jimenez is the hero. The next game, the Jays and A's were tied at 1 going into the bottom of the 6th when Dalton Varsho singled in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who had walked to give the Jays the lead. In the top of the 7th, Mason Fluharty came out to pitch, got hit by a comebacker by Jeff McNeil, and then got hit by a comebacker by Max Muncy. Not that Max Muncy, the other Max Muncy. Back-to-back pitches, Fluharty gets drilled. He has to come out of the game, and the Blue Jays have to go to Brendan Little with 2 on and nobody out, leading by a run. He gave up a little nubber single by Denzel Clarke that tied the game after a double steal, then a walk, then a grand slam. Brendan Little, I mean, again, this is a guy who couldn't get the job done at all in October. He was a thrill ride every time he came into a ball game all year long. Though he put up some great numbers over the first 4 months, still too many walks, too many wild pitches. Blue Jays fans lost complete faith in him, and giving up a grand slam in his first game of the season didn't help. But down 6-2, the Jays came back. A run in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, then a game-tying home run by Alejandro Kirk in the bottom of the 9th. The teams traded runs in the 10th, and then in the top of the 11th, Spencer Miles comes in to make his major league debut. You'll hear from him a little bit later on. A 25-year-old with fewer than 25 innings in the pros since being drafted in 2022. He was supposed to be eased into things. But there he is in the top of the 11th in a tie game. Gets a ground ball from the leadoff man, Jeff McNeil, and has the presence of mind to turn around and throw out the lead runner. Next batter is Max Muncy, not that Max Muncy. Spencer Miles gets his first big league strikeout. He gets out of the inning without giving up a run, and in the bottom of the 11th, Ernie Clement walks it off with an RBI single after an intentional walk to Dalton Varsho. Blue Jays win it 8-7. Long forgotten was Dylan Cease, who struck out 12 over 5 1/3 innings, a Blue Jays record for a debut. And the Jays went into Sunday's game with a chance to sweep the A's, and there was far less drama. They ran out to a 4-0 lead. George Springer homered on the first pitch of the bottom of the first after Eric Lauer struck out the side in the top of the inning. Jesus Sanchez with his first home run as a Blue Jay, a 2-run shot in the third. Kazuma Okamoto with a solo homer, his first major league home run coming in the bottom of the fourth. And Eric Lauer was outstanding, took a no-hitter into the 5th inning, and then on back-to-back pitches, he gave up a double and a homer. But other than that, pretty much completely unscathed, and he struck out 9, following Gosman's 11 and Cease's 12. And the Blue Jays bullpen, Braden Fisher, Tommy Nance, Mason Fluharty, Jeff Hoffman, combining to throw 3 2/3 shutout innings behind him. Jays get the 5-2 win. And it should be noted that the Blue Jays bullpen struck out 6 in that game, to give the Jays a grand total of 50 strikeouts over the 3-game series, a major league record for strikeouts in the first 3 games of a season. So congratulations to the Jays. And then in come the Colorado Rockies, who lost 119 games last year, 0-3 to start the season with 3 one-run losses in Miami. Told you about Cody Ponce. When he left, the game was tied 1-1. The Rockies got a run in the top of the 4th off of Louis Varland thanks to a 2-out error by Ernie Clement, who just whiffed on a ground ball. Not something you're going to see very often. And then the Rockies scored 7 runs in the 6th inning. Spencer Miles, who took over for Varland in the 4th, threw a shutout 5th, gave up a 2-run homer to Troy Johnston. Then Brendan Little took over, and after striking out Kyle Karros, went single, walk, double. Again, Brendan Little, just terrible. By the time he left, it was 9-1, and the Rockies went on to a 14-5 win. The next night, it was Max Scherzer time, gave up a run on 4 hits over 6 innings. The Blue Jays got a couple in the 5th, 3 more in the 7th, an easy 5-1 win with a 14-hit attack, only 1 of which went for extra bases. And they had the chance to take the series on Wednesday afternoon, but just couldn't get it done with the bats. They, again, this time did not get an extra base hit. 7 hits, all singles, carried a 1-0 lead into the 8th when they went to Tommy Nance and not Louis Varland. A little bit of a surprise, given that Tyler Rogers had pitched the 7th, and he pitched against the meat of the order there. But Nance hit the first batter he faced. That was Kyle Karros. Jake McCarthy comes in, steals second, and then Troy Johnson singles him home to tie the game. Blue Jays can't do anything in the 8th or 9th to score. Brendan Little comes in the 10th, and this was not his fault. Comes in with a runner at second, gives up a ground ball single after coming within 1/10 of an inch of striking out Tyler Freeman. And the Blue Jays, top of the order, goes 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 10th. They lose 2-1. They fall to 4-2 on the season. A good start to the season, but not when you lose 2 or 3 at home to Colorado. Again, this may be what we're talking about with the Blue Jays all year, not having enough offense. It's so early in the season and you can't make any determinations yet. But we felt like this team was a bat or 2 short coming into the year. Jesus Sanchez off to a terrific start, hitting .375 with an OPS over 1,000. Andres Jimenez, as he did last year, great start to the year, hitting .364 with an OPS over 1,000. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has a .481 on base percentage, but he doesn't have an extra base hit yet. Those will come. Alejandro Kirk is 2 for 16. That's not going to continue. George Springer's 4 for 26. That's not going to continue. Addison Barger is 0 for 13 to start the season with 6 strikeouts. That's not going to continue. We'll see what this offense can do. Kazuma Okamoto is hitting .292. He's got a .912 OPS in 6 games to start the season. He's got 2 home runs. He's done some terrific stuff. He's also struck out in nearly half of his at-bats. 11 strikeouts in 24 at-bats for Kazuma Okamoto. That's something to keep an eye on. The word was that he was going to struggle with major league velocity. He has not so far, but 11 strikeouts in 24 at-bats is too much. But it's the first 24 at-bats of his major league career, and 2 of them, or 2 plate appearances anyway, came against Tomoyuki Sugano on Monday night, and Sugano and Okamoto were teammates with the Yomiuri Giants for years when Sugano was the best player in the league. Never mind the best pitcher. He won 3 MVPs in a row. And Okamoto was the big slugger in the middle of the order for Yomiuri. So it was really cool to see them face off against each other, though Sugano is in his late 30s now, not what he was. But this is like Dave Stieb pitching against George Bell. It's like Kevin Gausman pitching against Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Stars of great teams facing each other. Sugano struck out Okamoto first time, walked him the second time. They didn't see each other a third time. That's the week that was. Let's hear from your Toronto Blue Jays. Max Scherzer signed with the Jays first week of March as a free agent to come back and try to do it again a little bit better this time, get to the World Series. He feels healthy. His thumb is fine. And he went out there and he absolutely shoved in his first start. The next one is coming against the Los Angeles Dodgers, against whom Scherzer started in Game 7. I got a chance to talk to Mad Max in the Blue Jays clubhouse before Wednesday's game. Max, thanks for doing this. And I remember first thing talking to you in July in Detroit last year when the Jays moved into first overall in the American League, and you said we haven't won anything yet. So asking after 5 games is not going to get a better answer. But what do you think of the way this team has started this season, one trip through the rotation?
On the starting staff, we've looked pretty good as a whole. We've done some great things as a team. We've seen some timely hitting. We've seen some great defense across all facets of the game. And so, and we've seen some bullpen arms, throw some electric stuff, get some big outs. So, we keep doing the team things. You keep playing as a team, keep doing the right things. And, that's why we've won a few ball games here. But, I'm so much season in front of us, and it really means nothing right now.
I was going to ask about what Gausman said after opening day, but because you mentioned the defense, something I talked to a lot of people about in spring training was how good the defense of this team up the middle can be. Not to put anything against the guys in the corners, but with Ernie and Jimenez, Varsho, Dalton, and Alejandro Kirk, for me, it's easily the best up the middle defense in the big leagues, but it's also got a chance to be one of the best in a very long time. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, those guys are, premier defenders, but let's not sleep on Vladdy. Vladdy's a very good defensive first baseman. We've seen Kaz make a couple really good third base plays at third base. Really, take you by surprise. Like, oh wow, he can really play the D like that. And obviously on our corners, those guys are good too, in the outfield. So all the way around, we play good defense. I know those guys, the guys up the middle are premium guys, but that's contagious. Everybody wants to be good defensively, and so it's one aspect of the game that we can win a ball game in. That helps win ball games, playing good defense, and so that's why we're a very good team, because we're very well rounded.
You have strikeout guys on the pitching staff. You're like 11th on the all-time list in strikeouts, and we saw the 50 strikeouts in the first 3 games, which is a major league record. But given that, even for strikeout pitchers, having those gloves behind you, does it give you a little more confidence in putting the ball in play, or does it change anything?
baseball, there's so many different outcomes and so many different things you have to be good at. And, there's so much to the whole game and how everybody plays together, and that, we got some real weapons on the mound who can strike some guys out, guys with some really nasty stuff. And so, that makes our ball club better when we're keeping the other team from being able to hit the ball. I mean, that's the most efficient out there is. So, it's good. It's a good thing that we got guys that can, strike guys out like that. So, like I said, we're a good team all the way around, all facets. We do a little bit of everything, and that's what makes us very competitive with everybody in the league.
After opening day, Kevin Gausman said, "It feels like Game 8 of the World Series. It feels like we never left." Now, you were gone for a while, and you missed the first few weeks of spring training. But I mean, is this sort of a pickup where you left off, sort of thing for this team?
In a way, yes. In a way, no. But I get the idea of what Goss is saying there, because you do have a quarterback here. And now everybody in this clubhouse has a little taste of postseason baseball and World Series baseball, and that's the highest form of baseball that there is. And so for everybody to have gotten a taste of it now, everybody that's a standard. That now you want to play baseball to that level. You understand that's the level of baseball that you want to be playing underneath. And there's no guarantee though you'll get back because of how good the rest of the league is and how tough this AL East is. We have a major challenge in front of us, but when you have that taste in your mouth, you just know the level of baseball that you got to play, and that's the standard that's been set.
Last year, you and Miles Straw were the only ones in this room who had been involved in a Game 7 of the World Series.
And Springer.
And Springer, right, winning the MVP that year.
No, 19.
In 17, you were 19, he was 17, and Straw was 19. But now 90% of the people in this room have been in Game 7 of the World Series. What does that change?
Well, when we start talking about little things that matter, how did we win last year? Why were we so good? We did all the little things right. And then plus on top of it, how well we're in the clubhouse. And so we realized how much all those things matter. And so when you're in this year now, we understand all the things. You just understand. You don't have to, have a conversation about it. You just know how important all the little things are, and all the little things you have to do to be able to win a ball game here. And so that heightened sense of attention to detail is a good thing, because now everybody's looking at how they got to get better, because we want to be able to be standing at the end of the season winning and winning the whole thing. And that's a huge motivating factor for everybody.
No one's ever going to doubt Max Scherzer's intensity at any point on the mound. But having done it before, how do you, having been through Game 7 of the World Series, how do you get that intensity to the point where it needs to be on a random Tuesday in June?
I mean, you can never fully. October's, electric for a reason. That's when everything's on the line. And so you can't replicate that. These games are important. Don't get me wrong. Games in April, we took every last game last year in order to get there. So these games are very important, starting here. They count. They matter. But as for in terms of playoff atmosphere, you can never replicate that. But that's almost a good thing, because, you get in this regular season, show us what you got in a consistent form. You got to be consistent right now. You're trying, as a pitcher, you're trying to go start in, start out, day in, day out, of being consistent and being able to do your job each and every time out. So that's a mental challenge in its own way, and a fun one at that.
Okamoto, you mentioned the defense. We've seen a couple of eye-popping plays. What have you seen out of him? This is a guy who was a superstar over in Japan and coming over here at 30. What are your impressions so far as an offensive player?
For me, the offense, he's going to get acclimated to it, and you're going to see, moments, and you're going to see good things, you're going to see bad things, and that's just going to happen as, somebody that's new to the league. But defense doesn't take a day off, and we've seen him make some great defensive plays, and something that really has opened our eyes so that, man, he can really play third base well. And that's the impressive part, because we know that that's a pitcher's best friend, is a guy who can hit and also play good defense. And so for him playing as well as he has at third gives you a lot of optimism going forward that, he can be a huge contributor to our ball club, because he'll figure out the offensive side. And I'm confident in our hitting coaches. If they're, whatever hiccups or whatever adjustments need to be made, he'll make them. But that's going to come in due time. But defense, that's the impressive part. And, that he's going to be a big factor for our team.
I want to ask you about Cody Ponce. Everybody's heart sinks when we see him get injured, and we know he's going to need knee surgery. You've been in this game a very long time. You've seen teammates get hurt, lose time, come back. obviously you can never have enough pitching, but what, like, seeing that happen and after getting to know him for a month, like, what's that like?
It's just a gut punch. It's the worst part of sports. When somebody has a season-ending injury, you don't wish it on anybody. It's unfair. Put himself in position to finally come over here, get back, and really show his improvement, show how he had leveled up, and unfortunately now he doesn't. And so it stinks, and that's the worst. It's worst case scenario. That no one, we're humans. We feel that. We feel for him. Just stinks all the way around.
All right, I want to end it on a happier note. We'll hear from Spencer Miles a little bit later in this show, and he talked about sledding with you, tobogganing, we call it up here in Canada, when he was 6 years old. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember it. It was with all my college buddies. We had a good day. Friend of a friend knew his dad and knew they had a good house, the huge hill to sled on, and we had a, huge snowfall, and so word got out that we should go sledding over there, and just happened to be that he was we were in college. I'm 21 years old probably, and there he is, 6 years old. We're all sledding together.
What's it like having that kid in your clubhouse right now in the big leagues?
Yeah, you're mad now. You make me feel real old.
That's one of the things I want to ask you. The last thing is Randy Johnson, throughout his whole career, his first name became 6'11", right? And he used to say, they just call me 6'11" Randy Johnson. Your first name is almost becoming 41-year-old now. And you're doing great things at your age, but how does it feel to be the wizened old veteran in here?
Yeah, I've kind of been the oldest in the clubhouse for a little bit now. I embrace it. I'm having fun with it more than anything, of being the oldest in the clubhouse. And I just have a lot of experience. I've seen a lot of different stuff, and I can relate to kind of everybody on the team. I've been through every part of being a young guy, being in arbitration, being a free agent, being a veteran. So I kind of know how each stage is for each player, and I can relate to that. And like I said, these guys keep me young. Going out there playing ball the way they are, it just makes me want to go out there and push myself and go out there and help the team win.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for this, Mike.
I appreciate it.
So there he is, 41-year-old Max Scherzer. Always a terrific conversation. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll step away, and when we come back, you'll hear from the kid whose backyard Scherzer went sledding in 20 years ago. Back here in deep left field, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mike Wilner. A new baseball season is underway, so please tell everybody you know about this podcast and how much you enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let us know as well at deepleftfield@thestar.ca. And so you never miss an episode, make sure to subscribe to or favorite the podcast, however your favorite podcast platform works. Not too many rookies on a team that is the defending league champions that got all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. And especially, rarely do you see a Rule 5er. But the Blue Jays have one. It's Spencer Miles. They plucked him out of the San Francisco Giants system. The Giants drafted him 4 years ago, and because of back surgery and Tommy John surgery, he's barely pitched professionally. But there was Spencer Miles getting the first win of his career in his major league debut, pitching in the 11th inning on Saturday in what wound up an 8-7 win over the A's. I got a chance to talk to Spencer before Tuesday's game. Spencer, thank you so much for doing this. I didn't want to talk to you until you'd made your major league debut, and we all thought you might be eased into it, and you were clearly not. So how did it feel to get that call during extra innings?
I mean, it was amazing. I had warmed up one time prior in the game, on like the maybe 6th or 7th inning, and then, or maybe it was later than that, like 8th or 9th. And then they sent me back down, and then we tie it up. Kirky ties it up. 11th inning rolls around, and it's just me and Hoffman. And it wasn't a situation where they're going to put him in. I was next man up, and I get the call. So, I mean, more than happy to do it, especially for these guys who have treated me so well and welcomed me into the clubhouse.
When you make your major league debut, a lot of the time things are moving really quickly, and a lot of advice is offered. Just try to slow it down, take it in as you're walking in. But you're coming into a tie game in the 11th inning with a runner on second base. How were you able at all to breathe in your debut?
Yeah, I think I think I was definitely a little, blacked out per se, but like I was able to breathe and I was able to like calm myself down enough to make the pitch. And I was coming in the 11th runner on second. Up there, I'm not going out of the windup. I'm going out of the stretch, holding the runner. And I actually had my brains about me so good. I noticed I came set the first time, and the shot clock was down to 3. And I'm like, well, shit, I gotta come set. I'm like, no look, gotta throw. So I throw it, curveball. I think it was for a ball, but like no pitch clock violation, which is good. Like I had my head about me. And then later on, I'm coming set. I got like 8 seconds left on the shot clock. I'm holding the runner, and McNeil was, I'm holding him, and I'm like, I got 6 seconds to play with. Like I'm just gonna toy with him. So I think that was honestly shocking to me. And then I was running in, and the umpire's checking your hands for sticky stuff and whatnot. And I go, well, done like 11th inning debut. That's what I said to him, and he chuckled. He was like, good luck. That was just crazy.
That's fantastic. That's great. And not only do you have your head about you with the pitch clock, but you had your wits about you to be able to eliminate the lead runner on a comeback, which I don't know too many pitchers would, especially in that situation. You just think, all right, get the out at first, but you had the presence of mind.
Yeah, I think that comes from just years of doing it, years of practice, and like in college we practiced that a lot, and definitely in high school. Coach Tao, he was a stickler on that kind of stuff. So like, if you didn't get it right, you're doing it again. And so I think it's just kind of a second nature thing. Like I knew there was a runner on second, and I was like, I think I fielded it, and I'm like, oh shit, we got someone on second. I'm gonna run him back up to second base, get rid of it, and don't follow my throw to second base. Make sure to get my butt to third and not cross the base path. And I think somehow I did a good job, and I think it was just second nature. I don't think I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, you just explained it. That's coaching right there. That is in your head as second nature. And you pick up, when the Jays walk it off, you pick up a win in your big league debut. How's that feel?
It's pretty sweet. I think in my junior year at school, I won one game, and I was a starter, and I'd go 6-7 innings sometimes 5, whatever. But here I come in the 11th, and I get a win in my major league debut. So it's crazy. I mean, there's no words to describe it. It's surreal. And I'm super blessed. The Lord has given me these abilities, and I can give him the glory to do something that cool.
You were a Rule 5 pick, and the Blue Jays have an incredible history in the Rule 5 draft, most of it before you were born. Like in the 80s, they picked up George Bell, who won an MVP. He's on the level of excellence right there. They picked up Kelly Gruber, who won a World Series here. Manny Lee, who won a World Series here. Now, there have been great players picked in the Rule 5 draft, so you're part of a nice little legacy. But when you heard about it back in December, a lot of people think, okay, this might take it to the big leagues here, but obviously you got to make the team. What goes through your mind when you find out you got picked in the Rule 5 draft?
I mean, obviously super excited, super excited to get to work and have the opportunity to make a team, but also knowing like, okay, the work has just begun. Like we're going to show up to like the Blue Jays campus and just and grind and get better each and every day. But knowing that also if I remain similar to myself or my stuff per se, like my velocities and everything, that it was going to work out. And so for me, it wasn't doing too much and not too little. Like just keep doing what I'm doing in the weight room, keep doing what I do on the mound, and be confident and be an athlete and go out there and let it rip. And I think that's kind of my strong suit. And the more I learn about the game, the more I learn how to pitch and everything, I think that stuff will really just take off.
And I mean, it's starting here in the big leagues. Amazingly, like you don't even have 30 pro innings pitched yet, and here you are in the majors. But that you wouldn't have been available otherwise if the last 4 years hadn't been so difficult. So I guess before I was going to ask you about the Arizona Fall League and what that meant, but take me through like 22 to 25, the back surgery, the TJ. What was it like to go through that for 4 years while you're trying to establish yourself as a professional?
Yeah, well, it's a grind for sure. And luckily I was an earlier rounder, and they had a little money tied up in me, so I wasn't as worried like the first couple seasons about like is it going to work out. But like as time goes on, you're like, well, if I have another one, like this might be it, because your time runs out and everyone has a ticker in baseball. But like I think showing up with a smile on your face every day, and not only working hard for yourself and your family, but like raising the level of everyone else's work and happiness around you, I think that goes a long way. And I try to do that every day with the Giants organization and make rehab a good, not like it's not a happy place, but like try and lift everyone's spirits and make them laugh a couple times a day or whatnot. and work hard, like kick everyone's butt in the weight room and stuff. So I think that's how I went about my work. And I was just trying to be a good guy in the clubhouse, make sure everyone's spirits were high, make sure everyone's okay. And because that stuff's hard, I get it. I've had 2 back-to-back surgeries, 3 years of rehab, and then finally was fortunate enough to get into the fall league and then get Rule 5 over here. So I would just say, work hard, put a smile on your face, and lift people up.
With Spencer Miles, what's the difference between rehabbing a back and rehabbing an elbow?
You know what's funny is that they're not all that different. Because obviously you can't use your elbow for so long. But when you're rehabbing a back, what's the one thing you're going to work on? Your core. So if you can't use your elbow, you're in the weight room doing something, and it's core. And then with your back, you're working on your core. So a ton of core in both rehabs. And then obviously the throwing program to strengthen the ligament and the flexors and everything. Through the Tommy John program, the volume was much higher. But still a regimented throwing program with the back surgery, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then Tommy John, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but the volume jumps up so that the elbow can get used to taking that kind of quantity and velocity.
What was the back injury?
I had a surgery in high school, so I've had 3 surgeries. I had a surgery in high school. I just had a stress fracture, and it just wouldn't heal. And the gap in the bones, it wouldn't quite cement back together. So we went in and put a screw across it, and they put some bone growth stuff, which in essence cauliflowered 4 years later when I became a pro. And it was just an unfortunate turn of events. It cauliflowered, and I had to go in and get it shaved out. So it wasn't like structural damage or anything. It was actually too beefy and too strong, and I couldn't pivot and rotate around it. That was just unfortunate, but no real injury there. Yeah, like I said, unfortunate. Bad luck.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before I let you go, I want to hear about you and Max Scherzer and tobogganing. Tell me a little bit about that, or a ski hill or something.
Yeah. Well, I've never heard of that term, tobogganer.
It's a sled up here, and
it's sledding, Canadian sled.
Right.
But so we were going tobogganing, and he was best friends with Danny Hill, who was my brother's pitching coach at the time and a family friend. And Danny was family friends with us, so he would come over and sled, and we were very familiar with him, and I'm still familiar with him. I was texting him this morning. And so Max is obviously on the Missouri team as well, and he's tagging along, and he's a Missouri guy, so he can join in all he wants. But comes over, I think we got like a foot of snow, which for Missouri, you'll get that like once every 5 years. So we got a foot of snow, like got hot chocolate. I think the power went out back home because we live in the county. And we probably have a 300-foot hill. It starts off as like a 45-degree decline, and then it zips off to like a 60. And that's where you build the ramps. And Max and Danny, they all built ramps. I think I was like 6 years old shooting off this dang ramp, feeling like 10 feet of air, like 50 pounds. But it's a little before my memory, before I can remember. But Max remembers, my dad remembers, my brother Danny. So it's pretty cool to now be in the same clubhouse as him, pick his brain on anything. Like we can talk school, we got that in common, pitching. And I intend to pick his brain more, and because he's a bank of knowledge, and he knows so much about the game, how to conduct yourself as a pitcher, off the field, clubhouse, whatever it is. So,
and as we sit here before Tuesday's game, how much are you looking forward to seeing pitch tonight?
Oh, a ton. I'm gonna be sitting over there with my cleats on. I think maybe an emergency guy. So if they need me, I'm ready. But I'm gonna be watching him pitch, and 2-0 counts. How does he get back on the count? 0-2. What's he going to? Maybe change eye level, waste a pitch, and then get back to it. Just stuff like that. So I'm super excited.
And that's the best way for a rookie to watch a Hall of Famer in the bullpen. Spencer, I appreciate your time so much. It's great getting to know you, and I'm hopeful we'll see you here all year. We'll get a chance to do this a bunch of times. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you.
And Spencer Miles got to see Max Scherzer do Max Scherzer things on Tuesday night when he allowed just a run on 4 hits over 6 innings in a win over the Colorado Rockies. We'll be back with a Canadian kid who might just be the best center fielder in the major leagues. You're in deep left field. I'm Mike Wilner. Thank you so much for joining us. The Blue Jays opened their season against the Without a Home Athletics. They moved from Oakland after the 2024 season, spent last year and are spending this year in Sacramento and scheduled to do so next year as well. They plan to move to Las Vegas in 2028, but honestly, who knows if that's going to happen? They don't even have a shovel in the ground on a new stadium in Vegas yet. We shall see what happens with the Athletics, but they are still a major league team and not a bad one this year, despite getting swept by the Blue Jays in the first weekend of the season. Their center fielder is Pickering, Ontario's Denzel Clarke, who played in a second World Baseball Classic for Canada last month. And with Denzel back home for his first big league opening day, I wanted to talk to him about that, about the WBC, and a few other things.
But Denzel, here we are again in the visiting dugout at Rogers Center, looking up at the 200 level where you sat in the seats in the first game you were at. I want to talk about a whole bunch of things with you, especially the World Baseball Classic. But let's start with your first opening day in the big leagues, and it's in your own backyard. How cool was that to have that first opening day here in Toronto?
It was really, really cool. Super grateful for this opportunity. I'm happy to just be playing out here at a stadium I grew up watching the Blue Jays play. I played here a couple of times growing up, and it was really special hearing the ovation I got from the fans too when they called me into the starting lineup on the field near the opening, ceremony or whatever. So that was really special.
Yeah, and you're going to hear that a lot more over the years as you come back and play here. Your career in the big leagues is just starting out, and a lot of them got to know you because of that World Baseball Classic, even if they'd forgotten that you played 3 years ago for Canada. But down there in Puerto Rico or in Florida first when you guys were tuning up, and I watched you come back from 7-0 down against the Jays and then beat the Phillies the next day, there was a feeling about this team, right? Every coach said to me, it's the first time we've had a big leaguer at every position. This is the year that we advance. Did you guys feel that too? And what was it like doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I really noticed for myself, like from the first meeting we had when we met in Dunedin, Florida, like the intent was different, the vibe was different, and everyone was everyone was ready to go and hungry to go. So it was super, super special being a part of that group, and just the intent we went and played every game with, moving on for the first time to Houston. Everything was really, really special. So we were all super excited and happy.
How much of that was driven by your group, like the young guys, you and Eddie Julian and Owen Casey, and the players who in 23 were just there for the first time, Otto too, not established big leaguers yet, most of you not even big leaguers yet, right? And that first time was like, I mean, they say happy to be here, but I know whenever you put Canada on your chest, it's a little more than that. But how much was the difference in vibe year to year driven by the fact that you guys had already been there once before?
Yeah, for sure. The experience definitely helped. You know, the first time we were like, okay, this is the WBC, it's our first time. Obviously, we're going out there to compete, but we obviously have to experience a lot of things for the first time. The second time through, it's just like we knew what to expect and we were hungry. We knew we had a good team, and Josh and Tyler kind of leading the charge there. They set the tone early. The intent was great, and we're already just hungry and go out there and work. So.
And then when you play that do or die game against Cuba at the end of the pool play, you guys were always looking for opportunities to take advantage of, right? And a good team will pounce on that when things start to go your way. And in that inning against Cuba, where you see the pop-up drop and then the foul pop drop, and then you strike out and the catcher tries to grab the ball with a mask. I mean, everyone watching that game knew you were going to be in second base within seconds of that. But when you guys start getting those breaks, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels good. It's like in those must-win games, every little thing matters in terms of winning or losing a game. And we had a couple of things go our way, and we were super excited to get the win, move on for the first time.
Yeah, it was terrific. And then your prize, obviously, is to go face the United States. But you gave them everything they could handle, too.
Absolutely. We went into that game ready to compete, ready to go. Gave them a good run for the money. And, yeah, it was a disappointing finish, but it's a good for us next team going. We know we have. So we're excited to go out there and work.
Next time around, 2029, we were talking to Mark Shapiro before the season, and he said Toronto wants to host a pool, and they're going to ask for a pool to be here. It would be the first time since 2009. What would that be like to play for Canada here at a World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, that'd be special. I remember seeing Russ Martin and Votto go ahead and hitting homers here, and it'd be cool to experience playing here in front of the home country. That'd be legit. So
I'll never forget that one either. I got to call that across the country for the radio. That was spectacular. And looking forward to that too. Whether it's here or not, chances are your cousin Miles will be making his way onto this team as well with Josh and Bo Naylor. What's it like to play with two guys that you grew up with, that family? Like, we're talking about first cousins here, not distant whatever. And what's it going to be like if there are four of you?
Yeah, I mean, this time around was so special. He's getting, played with Bo before. First time playing with Josh, so seeing him in the clubhouse baseball environment is really, really special. Just happy to be a part of it. And then adding Miles to the next one, that'd be really, really special. If that all goes down, we're all able to make that. That'd be a very, very special tournament.
I got to ask you about Josh, because he seems like almost like a guy who, and we saw it when he played for Seattle in Game 7 of the ALCS, and he tried to break up that double play with his shoulder. He seems to be a guy who, between the lines, with whatever he does at second base, whether it matters or not when he's a base runner, who will do absolutely anything to help his team win. Like, there are no lines, it feels like, for Josh. Is that a correct read? And what's it like to have a teammate like that?
Yeah, man, he's a gamer. You see it all the time. He just wants to go out there and win. And it's super special. I mean, he was a captain for Team Canada. When you know a guy like that's leading the charge, he's going to do everything it takes to win. Everyone else follows suit. So it's super awesome. Playing with someone who wants to win as badly as that is really, 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 really awesome. So,
before I let you go, I just want to ask you about you and the year you've got coming up here. We mentioned it was your first opening day in the big leagues. We're looking forward to your first full season in the major leagues. I'm not going to ask about numbers or anything, or whether you want to win a gold glove. I'm sure you want to, and we'll see the amazing defense in center field. But what do you want in a grander scheme from your first full season in the major leagues?
Yeah, for sure. I think I just want to make sure I'm on the field every day I can be. Going out there and giving my best to help the team win. Just full healthy season, and then seeing what I can do when I put all that together. So I'm excited.
We're excited to watch it too, Denzel. Thanks so much for this. Have a great year.
Appreciate it.
That's Denzel Clarke, a young man who is exceedingly exciting to watch out on the field. He's already turned in one web gem in the first week of the season, going up and over the fence to take a home run away. The Blue Jays are very happy. It wasn't until after he left Toronto. The glove is otherworldly. The speed is amazing. The question is, how much will Denzel Clarke be able to hit? We'll be keeping an eye on it, because if he can even hit 240, he's got a chance to be a big league star, and we will always be rooting for Denzel Clarke. Before we go, a quick dip into the mailbag. The top of the show ran a little bit long, so I don't want to get too deep into the mailbag, but you can always hit us up at deepleftfield@thestar.ca. Justin in Pickering says Denzel Clarke looks like he has all the tools to become a multi-time Gold Glove winner and may already be on his way there. But offensively, he's been relegated to the bottom of the order, usually in the number 9 spot. With his natural speed and athleticism, do you think he has realistic potential to become a top-of-the-order hitter while providing Gold Glove level defense like players such as Devon White and Lorenzo Cain were? And not having seen too many of his at-bats myself, what are his offensive shortcomings that have managed to see him right now as a bottom-of-the-order hitter? Well, Justin, the truth of the matter is that Denzel has had a hard time offensively at the major league level. He is in the big leagues because of the speed and because of the defense, and he's got a long way to go and a lot of work to do before we start talking about him being a leadoff man. The most important thing, I know a lot of people think leadoff hitters are put your fastest guy up there. The most important thing a leadoff hitter can do is get on base, not get out. And last year, in his first season in the major leagues, cut short by injury, Denzel hit 230 with a 274 on-base percentage, and he walked only 6 times against 61 strikeouts. This season, and again, a week in, there's no conclusion to be drawn. He is 2 for 14 with 7 strikeouts against 1 walk. He's a tall, lanky guy, strong as hell, but a lot of moving parts in that swing. And he's got to figure out a way to just, I think, tighten it up. Just calm that swing down. Get everything moving in the right direction on a regular basis. And then you kind of start to have success. And once you start to have success, you start to move up the lineup. And maybe But again, Denzel's got a long way to go offensively to get to the point where he is a true leadoff hitter in the major leagues. And we, of course, wish him only the best of luck. Mike says the Jays front office obviously blew it by not signing Vladdy or Bichette to long-term contracts several years ago. Now other clubs are signing young players with potential to 8 to 10-year contracts to lock them up. Any chance that the Blue Jays will do this with Barger or anybody else? And why not? Seems like the right thing to do. Thanks for all your insights on several mediums. They're much appreciated. Thanks, Mike. And yeah, you can find me here. You can find me at the Toronto Star, in the newspaper, at thestar.com. Hop on the radio a few times as well, whenever they call, often on News Talk 1010. You can find me there, sometimes on the CBC. Lots of media, and I enjoy doing it so much, and I appreciate it. I would say there's clubs are signing young players with potential to 7 to 8 year deals. I haven't seen a 10 floating around there yet. The harm is that the player doesn't work out. And we've seen that with a guy like John Singleton for the Astros, Evan White for the Seattle Mariners, Scott Kingery for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's not automatic. They don't all work out. Addison Barger is 26 years old and doesn't have a hit yet this year. He also only has 1 year of service time. So the Blue Jays control him for 5 more years, where they don't have to worry about free agency. So are you worried about losing Addison Barger at 32 enough to try to lock him up for his age 32, 3, and 4 seasons? I don't think so. I would think that Trey Savage is the guy that you're looking at locking up. But he's down with a shoulder injury right now. So pitchers are scary. Pitchers get hurt. It's a tough thing to do to lock guys like that up. And if you look in the past at, who should the Blue Jays have signed, obviously Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. But once that ship had sailed, who were those other candidates that we're thinking about? Probably Kevin Biggio, Nate Pearson, Ricky Tiedemann. It's a dangerous thing to give young players long-term deals for a lot of money. You really never know who's going to work out and who isn't going to work out. And Steven Hudson's Hope says, in Tuesday's game, Jesus Sanchez had some trouble on a fly ball, and one of the broadcasters commented that it happens more often to left fielders than right fielders at Rogers Center. So why? I'm wondering if there's a difference in left and right-handed batter swing paths that create that difference. Is that possible, or is there something else? I have no clue. What an incredible opening series. Going to be a fun year. Steve, hope you feel the same way after seeing the Jays lose 2 out of 3 to Colorado. The only thing I can think of is that the Gate 10 entrance, or between Gate 9 and Gate 10, if you can picture Rogers Center in your head, there are huge windows that let the outside light in. And that is right in the left fielder's eye line. That you have stadium, you have seats, and then you have outside, and then you have the second deck. The right fielder doesn't see that. I've heard that that's given left fielders problems before. I don't know if that is obstructed now with all the fun new stuff inside the stadium. I don't think it is. But for me, that's the reason that there can be issues with the left fielder, because the light changes right at their eye line when they're trying to find a fly ball coming at them, whether it's a left-handed batter or a right-handed batter. Thank you for the question. Thank you for all the questions. Apologies to those of you to whom we could not get. We'll try to do it next week or next show. You never know when we're going to drop one, especially with the Dodgers coming to town for a World Series rematch. Keep filling up the mailbag, please, at deepleftfield@thestar.ca. That's going to do it for this episode of Deep Left Field. Thank you so much for joining us. A baseball season is underway, and as we speak, there are 156 games to go. It is going to be a fun ride, and we'll be thrilled to have you here along with us every step of the way. Thank you so much to my guests, Max Scherzer, Spencer Miles, and Denzel Clarke. Thank you to the best production crew in the business, our executive producer, JP Fozo, our sound engineer, Sean Pattenden, and Crawford Blair. The editor-in-chief of the Toronto Star is Nicole McIntyre. The biggest thank you always, of course, goes to you. Without you, we wouldn't be doing any of this, whether it's your first time listening, your 344th, or any time in between. We are thrilled to have you along with us. Tell everyone you know. My name is Mike Wilner. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time right here in Deep Left Field.